Boys Season 1 on Amazon Prime Video. So I marathoned this series over the weekend. And for those of you new to my channel, I've been doing these videos where I break down the entire story of The Boys comic, volumes 1 through 12. So far, I have videos on volumes 1 through 4, but I'm going to go through the entire storyline. So if you want to see how the comic differs from the show, check out my videos on that. But as someone who has been doing these videos on The Boys recently and been going through the comic series very in depth, I definitely have some strong opinions on the TV show and how it's different and the changes they've made. So let's dive into my thoughts on Season 1 of The Boys. The Boys is about a group of misfits that have a grudge against superheroes, and they team up to take these superheroes down. Now, all the heroes in this world are owned by this organization known as Vought American, or in the TV show, Vought International. And the main superhero team for Vought International is known as the Seven, and the Seven are basically a Justice League parody. And one thing interesting is that in the world of The Boys, most of these superheroes are not very altruistic. They are more so driven by corporate greed, enhancing their brand image and cashing in on that image. So in a world today where we have an oversaturation of superhero movies and TV shows, it's a very refreshing take to see this dark parody and satire of superheroes in The Boys. Now, while I'm mixed on some aspects of the TV show with regards to the comic, I still think they captured the essence of the comic in the TV show. So let's jump into the characters of The Boys and my thoughts on all of them. So playing Huey, we have this guy, Jack Quaid, and I thought he was a pretty good Huey. Now, in the comic, Huey was clearly Simon Pegg, although Simon Pegg is too old to play Huey now, but it's a nice little Easter egg that we have Simon Pegg playing Huey's father in the TV show, so I like that. Now in the comic, Huey's Scottish. In the TV show, they made him American, and I'm fine with that change. I think it totally works with the character. Now Butcher is played by Karl Urban, and I think they did a really good job with Butcher. I'm totally buying and believing that he is the Butcher from the comics. Maybe the accent is like a New Zealand instead of a British accent, but nevertheless, I think he's doing a really good job. I like the attitude, I like the swearing, and I think they're really staying true to the Butcher character. Although, while I love Butcher, where is his dog, Terror? I love that dog. He's so fun in the comic. I know they showed some flashbacks of the dog in the TV show, but seriously, bring that dog back for Season 2. Make him a major part of the show. I love that dog. We got the Frenchman, who is maybe a little bit of a different characterization, but I'm totally fine with the TV show interpretation of that character. Same with Mother's Milk. I think they're doing a good job with that casting there. Maybe Mother's Milk should be a little bit taller, but that's a little bit of a nitpick. I think Mother's Milk and the Frenchman really get the look correctly of what I was expecting to see. Same with the female. I thought the female was very true to the characterization in the comic and her look as well. Now, let's go over to the Seven. So we have Antony Starr as Homelander, and he is great. I really like the casting of the Homelander in this. He's self-centered, he's a narcissist, he's got this great smug look on his face, but he can turn on that fake smile as well. And I'm totally buying into that sort of evil, behind-the-scenes thing with the Homelander. But you also see a little bit of vulnerableness when he's dealing with Stillwell's character and their sort of relationship there. So Homelander is a really good casting. A-Train! I'm liking A-Train in this. I like how they fleshed out his backstory. They're giving more things for A-Train to do. So I think that was a good interpretation from the comic. The Deep. Now, the Deep, they changed a lot. One thing in the comic I like is that I like the Deep's stupid costume where he has like that scuba suit on. That's funny. But in the TV show, they changed the Deep up a bit, but I think it works. I think they really added to the character, gave him a lot more stuff to do. They gave him some interesting backstory. We're getting a whole bunch of side plot with him, and I'm liking it. Like one scene where he's trying to rescue this dolphin from the ocean and he's spraying it. That's some funny stuff with the Deep. So I like how the TV show is sort of expanding on all these characters and fleshing out a lot of them. Now, Queen Maeve is an interesting interpretation. She's definitely not as bitter as she was in the comic, but I think they got the look for her, and I think it works, although maybe I would have liked her to be a little bit more resentful and a little bit more jaded, just to be more true to the comic. Annie January as Starlight, I'm liking as well. Maybe they sort of changed her, sped up her character arc and made her from this like naive little girl into the more sort of confident woman a lot quicker than we see in the comic. So they did that. They sped that up a lot in the TV show. But no, I really like Annie. I think they did a good job with her. Now, Jack from Jupiter is not in the TV show. He was the Martian Manhunter type character. And maybe they felt like that was a little bit too out there for the TV show. They wanted to have something a little bit more grounded, so they changed that hero for a person named Translucent, and sort of like an invisible character. And I thought Translucent was a pretty interesting character as well to sort of have in the first few episodes and show the boys dealing with him. So I'm fine with that change, and I kind of liked it as well. And we have Black Noir, the last member of the Seven, which, he's kind of silent in the background, so I don't really have many opinions on Black Noir yet, although the costume looks good, I will say that. So let's go to General Mallory. General Mallory is a female. They gender swapped that character. Now, we haven't really met General Mallory that much yet in the TV show, so I don't know my opinion on it, although I don't like gender swapping characters just for the sake of gender swapping characters. So speaking of that, let's talk about the big change, the big gender swap. James Stillwell in the comics is now Madeline Stillwell. And I'm not fully on board with that change there. James Stillwell is such a good character in the comic. He's such a sociopath, but he's so determined. He's so focused on everything. And when you switch it to this female character, I'm just not loving the characterization as much. And also, they really changed a lot with that character. They gave her a baby, and there's sort of this infatuation with the Homelander. The Homelander's infatuated with this Madeline Stillwell, and they sort of have this messed up romantic relationship as well. So I don't know if I fully liked that. And at the end of the season, they really make some big changes with Madeline Stillwell and what happens with that character at the end of the season. So I'm not so sure how that's going to play out in season 2 and the future storylines, but it's definitely an interesting kind of twist that really, really diverges from the comic. But I'm kind of mixed on it because I really like James's character in the comics. Now on to Vought American or Vought International in the TV show. I really liked how they showed the organization and how it all works. I thought they really fleshed that out. I liked the scenes with all the marketing people sort of trying to manipulate all the heroes and spin them in a certain way. I thought the TV show did a really good job on that. I would have liked if they dived into Victory Comics and that whole comics arm and the fake comic books they put out for propaganda to spin the heroes. I would have liked some more exploration of that, as well as maybe introducing the Legend, a big character in the comics. I would have liked to see him in here, although maybe we'll get him in season 2. I want to talk about the airplane scene. The airplane scene. So in the TV show, Maeve and Homelander go onto this airplane and try to stop these terrorists and try to save the people, and it does not go well. And I thought it was pretty well done in the show, but in the comic, where that happens, which is in volume 3, it was so intense and so epic, and it was such a mess that it was so good in the comic, and the TV show, I felt, did not do it justice. So I was a little bit disappointed in how that was shown. Mind you, they still hit a few of the same points that I wanted them to hit in that scene, but just didn't carry the same weight that it did in the comic. So my hometown is Toronto, and that is where the TV show was shot. So it takes me a little bit out of it when they're pretending it's New York, and I'm seeing all these Toronto things in here. Specifically, the Seven or Vought Americans headquarters is they shot at this place called Roy Thompson Hall. It's like where the Toronto Symphony Orchestra plays. And it's this kind of small building. It's like maybe 1 or 2 floors. And they shoot from the exterior in the TV show. But it's so funny. In the TV show, they'll zoom up, they'll pan up from that building, and they CGI'd 80 floors on top of Roy Thompson Hall. So when I'm watching the TV show, I'm like, I know this place. And then when they zoom up, I see 80 floors on top of it. It's really funny for me to see that change. So yeah, it's funny, although it takes me a little bit out of it as someone from Toronto. I want to talk about one other major change with Butcher's wife and kid. They really sort of changed what happened there, and they've set stuff up in a certain way to sort of expand upon that in season 2 and onward. I don't know if I'm on board with that change. I don't know if I like it. It's definitely interesting, though, because as someone who read the comic, they really went in a different direction with that. So I'm curious to see how it plays out, although I don't know if I'm fully on board. So overall, on the whole, I thought the show was not bad. I loved seeing some of the stuff from the comic translated into live action, seeing all the various characters doing superhero things. We're also getting more backstory on various characters, seeing various aspects fleshed out. Although at the same time, I also don't like certain things that were cut. I also don't like certain changes that were made. Also, they definitely watered down the intense aspects of the comic. Let's be honest, the comic is insane at times. Garth Ennis really pushes the envelope in the comic to the point where you're reading certain things and you're just like, whoa, no way is the TV show ever going to handle this. And the TV show definitely walks it back a bit at times. They definitely walk things back. Now, maybe they had to, and I'm okay with a little bit of watering down, but it just doesn't have the same impact that the comic has. It's also not as funny as the comic. The comic is really funny at times. The TV show has some good laughs every now and then, but the comic is, in many ways, much better. Having that all being said, though, I still enjoyed season 1 of the TV show, and I'm still excited for season 2. And now that they sort of have established the boys as a team, I'm excited for the next season to see where they go from there. Maybe they're going to bring that character Tech Knight in. I want to see how Amazon is going to handle Tech Knight. I want to see the legend in here. So I'm excited for season 2, but I'm definitely mixed on certain aspects of season 1 and a little bit disappointed on certain things. I'm going to give season 1 a 7.5 out of 10.